Hey, you guys. Happy Sunday. Just making sure my tech is working. You know the drill if you've been doing this with me for a few weeks. I guess it's been a little bit more than a month now, which is kind of cool. All right, I got my live chat loaded on YouTube and just making sure we're all on the same page on Facebook as well. Happy Sunday. I hope you're having a lovely weekend. I certainly am. And I'm super excited to dive into today's topic with you because who doesn't want to be happy as fuck? I know I do. And, you know, it seems as though there are a infinite number of challenges and conditions and situations that can derail or altogether deny our happiness. Um, and we mostly live by that belief or that paradigm. Um, but we don't have to. And I know that what I'm about to share with you and what I often say is somewhat radical. But if you stay with me and you sort of allow yourself to open and sense for the truth in the concepts and things that I share with you, I suspect the knowing that you already possess within you, right? The aspect of you that is infinite and love and God is another way to say that. That aspect of you is going to be like, yes, to these words, to these concepts that I share, even though they go against common logic a lot of the time, even though we have mountains of evidence that are contrary to the concepts that I share. There is a part of you and me and all of us, because it is the element that we share that is, again, infinite and indivisible, otherwise known as, in religious terms, God. It is that element that is the truth, right? It is love, it is infinite, it is bliss, it is all the good things. Okay, so that part of you will receive and respond to this concept. Okay, so allow yourself, maybe even when you tune into these Sunday services that I do, maybe deliberately sort of decide to suspend your logic and sensible, meaning the things that you can measure with your senses, decide to suspend that that you're familiar with and allow or be open to new information that you may not have a bunch of evidence and be able to point directly to. Okay, new information that you don't have this set of evidence for that can prove it to you that you can then sort of buy into. Okay, so in other words, suspend your limited perception and allow yourself to receive information that exists outside of your current frame of reference. Cool? Okay. All right. So, in today's conversation, how to be happy, we're going to talk about the problems with our problems, or the problem, the number one problem, the reason why our problems seem to perpetuate. Um, well, individually for each of us, but also on a global scale. Okay. The problem with our problems, we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about a really simple way to actually be happy. So if that sounds like fun, just drop a comment. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're tuning in and enjoying what we're talking about today. All right. So we think that our problems exist at the level, the objective level of like money and health and love. But these problems that show up in, we'll just say, physical form in the categories, right? It's usually money related, or love and relationship related, or our health and physical well-being related. And so, I mean, these are all important categories of our lives and living happy, productive, fulfilling lives. But we think the problems that we experience are at that objective level. And by objective level, I mean, again, that which we can measure with our five senses, right? What we can see, what we can taste, what we can touch, what we can smell, and what we can hear. Those are our five senses. And that's the objective level by which we experience our problems. Now, the problem is these physical manifestations, if you will, in those three areas, health, love, and money. These physical manifestations are simply representations of non-physical dysregulation. Okay? Another way to say that is these physical manifestations, these problems, we're talking about problems right now, right? These physical manifestations in the area of health, love, or money are physical representations of non-physical, what did I say? Dysregulation. So another way to say that is to say non-physical dysregulation is we're out of alignment with our spiritual truth. Okay, we're at a spiritual level, at a soul level, at an energetic level. We are in disharmony with the truth of who we are. Okay, and when we're in that disharmony or dis-ease, right? The word dis-ease means out of ease, out of alignment, out of harmony. And so when we're out of alignment with the truth of who we are, with our essential nature, our spirit, right? There is a distortion in our energetic field, and it arises in thought and sensation and emotion and in observable information. Okay. But the source of any and all of our problems is of an energetic or spiritual nature. So the problem with our problems is we are seeing them at a superficial level, at the level of manifestation, the objective level. We're seeing them and trying to fix them at this level, when the source of them is, I guess I could say it this way, deeper. Okay, it's actually within each of us. Okay, and so, by the way, this is why I stopped coaching people around their money, love, and health issues and have shifted to focus my body of work as a metaphysician, right? Because you can't solve for lack of happiness, of fulfillment, of, you can't solve for lack by with a better relationship or a leaner body or more money, which is again, very basically speaking, that's what people hire coaches to help them do, right? Accelerate their careers by which making more money, or lose the weight, or get healthy, or fix whatever's going on or going wrong in their bodies to have a better body. Now, I'm not saying this stuff is useless. It's actually very useful, and our problems will perpetuate. They might hop from one area from, oh, now your body is looking and feeling good. You healed your gut issues, but now your marriage is on the rocks, right? Or you were single, but now you have this incredible loving relationship, but you are just like, you can't lose that weight, and it's making you feel, you know, not as gorgeous as you'd like to be. Or you've got the perfect body and you're making loads of money and you're like on fire in yourself in that way, but you cannot find a fucking partner to save your life, a partner that, you know, is on your level or whatever it is. Okay. So in other words, the problems, or maybe you're experiencing all of the above, right? But the problems will sort of shift from one area to another as long as we're looking to solve our problems or achieve happiness at the objective level. Okay. So we don't have to, but I'm just going to say it this way. If we want happiness, if we want true, lasting, eternal happiness, then we got to get to the source of our disharmony, our dissatisfaction, and the dysregulation that occurs at a soul level. Now, I'll add this to that statement. When I say everlasting or eternal happiness, I'm not saying every moment of your life from that second forward is going to be like rainbows and motherfucking butterflies. It's not. And we can approach those challenges called life from a completely different perspective. In fact, it's not just a perspective, because that's another wonderful thing that coaching, for example, can help us achieve, is a greater perspective of a situation or problem that we're wanting to solve, or next level that we're wanting to achieve. Coaching is an extraordinary vehicle for expanding our perspective so that we can make changes in our thoughts, and our actions and our behaviors, and therefore our results. And it still assumes that you are your identity, right? So it's still approaching that problem from the level of objective reality, the level of identity. And you and I, every human being on the planet, by nature of being born human, right? We have both. Let me say that differently. We have an identity, but we are divinity. Okay, so divinity is the word that I use to describe that infinite nature, the essence of our being, that again was never born and will never die based on your physical body, right? It simply is, and it is for all of us, and all of life and all that exists, right? So we are divinity and we have an identity. And so expanding our perspective to better solve our problems, which is still an advanced, I mean, most people aren't fucking doing that, right? It's still an advanced way of being in your life and business or relationships, right? It's still an advanced next level step on the journey to enlightenment, to fulfillment, but it's still limited, right? So unless we are realizing our true nature, our divinity, and from that, then viewing our reality, right, which includes our identity, unless we're doing that, we are still stuck in the superficial, seeking for something and hoping it makes us happy. Okay, so I would rather go straight to the source of an unwanted situation, right, related to health, money, or love, straight to the source, or as I like to say, the soul of the matter. All right. And so again, it always is the source of any problem that we're experiencing in the objective world is always a spiritual dysregulation that's occurring at the very essence of our being. In other words, we are identifying as the limited aspect of our being that I call an identity. You might call it your personality or your persona or your self-image, okay, your avatar maybe. But the source of every single one of our problems is that we are looking at it from that limited paradigm. And so to solve all of our problems, and by all, I mean all, you guys. I'm not talking just about what you've got going on personally as an individual. I mean, okay, let me pause for a second and say this, that I know all of our global problems will be solved once each one of us individually, or at least a majority, right? We got to reach a tipping point. But once each one of us mends the relationship that we have with our divinity, once the identity, Colette Davenport, is in harmony with or synchronized with divinity, once we know this about ourselves, once we arrive at this universal, indivisible, and infallible truth, then not only do our individual challenges or problems related to health, money, and love resolve, okay? Then that is, by nature, that then impacts, right? There's I love this term that people in my sphere are throwing around these days, the ripple of impact. Okay, so it impacts your marriage, for example, or the relationship that you've got with your family. It impacts your organization or how you interact with your colleagues and peers. It impacts at a community level, and on and on and on. You get me? Okay. So, and it starts on an individual level. Okay, the level of self. What's going on globally, or yeah, I'll just leave it. I'll leave it that big, that fucking big, y'all. What's going on globally is a large scale representation of the misidentification that with ourselves that we have, right? It's a misidentification of the root problem, and lashes. It's a misidentification of the root problem, and the root problem is a misidentification of self. We think we are our identity, our personality, our physical bodies, our roles that we have taken on in the world. We think that is who we are and what reality is, when in fact, these are aspects of reality manifesting itself in physical form. Okay. And they're fun to play with, but are we doing a real good job of playing in the physical world, or are we doing a real good job of like fucking shit up? You tell me. So I'm just looking at my notes. That's why I'm looking down. Notes. Yeah, the thing I wrote is we are entangled in the drama, right? The manifestations, the theater, if you will. We're entangled in the drama of our identity, which keeps us from knowing our divinity. And it keeps us from the health, the wealth, and the love that we think will make us happy. So now the question is, all right, this is a great concept. This is great theory. This is great philosophy to ponder with a cup of tea while I'm sitting in my favorite chair or in the park or whatever. But how does it help me right now? Well, there is a simple way to be happy. I say simple, and it's just just a couple like direct elements that if we focus on these things, then happiness is inevitable. But we don't tend to do what I'm about to say because it's not normal. It's like it's almost too obvious and too simple that our complex logical minds like overlook it and go trying to figure out the fucking world's problems, right? And all of these complex, again, objective issues that our logical mind thinks it needs to solve in order to have peace and happiness and fulfillment, when what I'm about to say is like the most direct way to that which we're all seeking. Okay, on some level, we're all seeking to return home, home being like an experience of peace or happiness or wholeness. Okay, so you might want to get a pen and paper out, or make some notes, however you like. With this, I'll give you the what and then the how. What you got to do to be happy, and then how to actually make that shit happen. Okay. So the first thing that we have to do is regulate our nervous system. Okay. Because if we're anxious or afraid or stressed the fuck out, we literally, by design, the biology of our human bodies will prevent us from expanding our consciousness and doing what I'm about to say next. And I say expanding our consciousness because when our consciousness is contracted, then that's when we're like focused on these objective physical problems and we go there and try to solve them. So when our consciousness is contracted, it can really only focus on the objective situations. So, and that is in like the two are kind of two sides to a single coin. When our nervous system is dysregulated and we're sort of in fight or flight or freeze mode, like we just don't have the wherewithal, again, by human design, not the human design stuff, by the way that we were designed by the designer. We can't expand our consciousness and achieve that blissful state of oneness and happiness and peace. Okay. So, first things first, regulate the nervous system. The next thing there is to do is, I say it like this because I like alliteration, rise above. And that's where expanding consciousness, right? Opening our minds, which is what I invited you to do at the start of this video, is to suspend as best you're able to your limited logical interpretation of what's being transmitted here in words, right? So rising above is expanding our consciousness. Think of it as opening your mind to information that you don't already have or have access to, okay? So first, regulate your nervous system. Next, rise above or expand your consciousness, open your mind. Next is remember the truth. Okay. So this is in my experience, this is the hardest part for people, because we have been sold and resold and resold. It's like a fucking ongoing subscription that we have to the lie. And the lie is this idea that we are separate from one another, from God, from nature, and so on, right? So it appears real, and we've got a lot of evidence, a lot of facts that would back up that as 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 reality, as truth. Um, but only it's not the whole truth, right? It's not that it's not real. It's just not ultimate reality. Okay. And so, unless we get the ultimate reality, the ultimate truth, the indivisible truth, okay, and this is the truth that people like Einstein, and Tesla, and where, like, they said, if you want to know the ultimate reality or something like this, I'm totally hacking this quote, but it'll resonate with you. If you want to know, like, the nature of reality, think in terms of energy and vibration. If you know the quote, maybe type that into the comments so that it can be honored, right? By Tesla, I believe, said that, but Einstein was proving that to us. And then, of course, all the spiritual masters of all history have all said the same exact thing. So remembering the truth is difficult for us because we are subscribed to the lie. And I was that last week or maybe 2 weeks ago that I talked about the truth and the lie. Well, it's again, the truth is that there is one reality, and it's consciousness, and it's infinite, and it's eternal, and it is what you and I are made of, and it's what you and I are experiencing, and it's what you and I, all of our thoughts, all of our feelings, all of our experiences arise from and are experienced in. Okay. It's the I that all of us claim when we say I am. Okay. Um, it's the knowing. Um, and that's the indivisible or ultimate truth or reality. And then the lie is, oh no, I'm separate. And then I have to work hard to earn love or earn, being worthy or whatever it is. And then we perpetuate that, right? And that's where all of our problems at that objective level of in that paradigm, the separation paradigm, that's where all that exists. So remembering the truth is difficult, which is why I've become an expert in it. And it's what I have dedicated my life's work to. So when you work with me, that's the first place that we go, because then everything stems from that, right? Everything that you want to solve problem wise or create in your life, I prefer to create rather than to solve problems, which is why, again, if you're interested in working with me, you already have to know how to regulate your nervous system, and you already have to know how to rise above, or you already have to have an open mind, and some form of knowledge around, you know, like expanding your consciousness. Okay. So I don't care what your methods are for that, but if we're working together, you already have to have those two things sorted when you come to me to get to your divinity, to get to the truth of who you are before we start creating from that ultimate truth for you. All right. So let me just recap. Number one, regulate your nervous system. Number two, rise above, expand your consciousness, open your mind. Number three, remember the truth, right? There's divinity, the truth, and identity. And I use dramatic words. That's the lie. Okay. It's not a lie. It's true. You just think you are that identity, and you're not. And number four is return with enhanced perception. So again, we have remembered the truth now, and we're returning with enhanced perception. So what are we returning to? We're returning to the world of the objective world, the physical world, where all the fun stuff exists, right? Cars and clothes and lovers and trips and food and all the wonderful, wonderful things that are here for us to enjoy. But we return to this world of form with an enhanced perception. Remember that our perception is what we can perceive with all of our senses, all five of our senses. Um, and we've returned to the world of form with enhanced perception. So now we're able to see beyond the physical world into the metaphysical world, into the unseen world of information. Okay, so I use see, but you're also able to, like, we can call it intuit, or you can call it like you've got clairvoyant. You're like your clairaudient, clairvoyant, all the clairs, right? You've got extrasensory perceptions, which are very real. We just think they're like some weird shit, but they're not. They're actually a part of our um, God-given gifts as being born human. We just think they're like fringe, but they're not. And so when we know the truth about ourselves, again, then we can utilize all of the tools that we've been given to create the physical reality, the physical life, the physical health, the physical money, the physical relationship that we actually want. Okay. Um, so again, we return to the world of form, the physical form, or the way I started this conversation was the problems, right? We can return to the problem that we were trying to fix with enhanced perception. So now we have greater abilities to address those problems that were bothering us individually, again, and at a global level. That's just the way that it works. Okay. Um, Interestingly, little sidebar here. Interestingly, what happens when we do what I'm sharing with you here, a lot of those problems that may have led us on this journey of self-realization, a lot of those problems just dissolve. Okay. Once we know the truth of who we are, a lot of what was plaguing us at the objective level, at the level of identity, just ceases to exist. It just disintegrates. Think about that word, disintegrates. So if before we were tangled up in our identity and there was problems that we were experiencing, when we know the truth of who we are, when we get to our divinity, that problem disintegrates. It no longer is a part of our reality. Cool. And that may not be necessarily true for everything, but again, we come back to or return to the problem or this physical reality with enhanced perception. Okay, so that was the fourth aspect. Next is, well, I almost already said this, it's resolve the issue. Okay, so whether that issue got resolved organically or spontaneously by us doing these other things to arrive at our ultimate truth, our divinity, or again, we've returned to the world of form, the physical world or the problem with enhanced perceptions so that we can resolve those complex issues. All right, so take a drink of water and let you maybe ask a question or leave a comment. How are you receiving this? Because I'm curious. Let me check in on my. Okay. All right. So that was what we need to do. Alexis, you're okay. I know. Well, welcome. You're right on time, sugar. Everything in perfect timing. All right, so let me just recap what I shared on a simple way to be happy. First is regulate your nervous system. Next is rise above or expand your consciousness, open your mind. Next is remember the truth. You are not your identity. You are divinity and you have an identity, a personality. Okay. And then there's remember the truth. No, I just said that. Return to the world, a physical world, right? To the objective world with enhanced perception. That's when you can see beyond, and your five physical senses are enhanced. You can think of it as like your superpowers get activated so that you can interpret this world of form with a greater understanding, with superpowers. And I'm not fucking around when I say that. I mean, there is a reason why, ever since, stories started being written, that the stories are being told about like heroes and with superpowers. There's a reason we're drawn to that, you guys, because it resonates with us on some level inside of us. We know that's who we are. And so when we see someone using their superpowers, right, we're like in awe. But what are we actually in awe of? We're in awe of not someone separate from us, even though it appears that way. We're in awe of what we know is true about us all. Okay. We're drawn to, we're in awe of, we're witnessing the potency and the power of our human nature, our essential nature. Okay, there's a reason why we like our superhero and superpower and mystical stories, which, by the way, the whole Bible is like, for the most part, one big mystical superpower, right? People are channeling information and getting visions and hearing voices and all of that. Well, that's just because they're using all of their enhanced perceptions, their superpowers, to gain this information, right? And the whole intent was to share this information with the world. But what happened to the messenger that was sharing this information with the world? Motherfucker was struck down. Kill the damn messenger. Why? Because they're saying something that doesn't make sense. And just because we killed the messenger doesn't mean the message was untrue. Okay? It was uncommon. And it still remains true. And again, all of the masters, and now even science, is supporting that ultimate truth. Okay? That we as human beings are perceiving ourselves as limited when in fact we are infinite. We are divinity. Okay. And so when you work with me, you will know that about you and you will live from that truth and create your desired reality as it relates to your health, your wealth, and your loving relationships, or whatever it is that you desire. All right. So that actually leads me to how we do this. And the simple answer is work with me. Okay. Because there's a transmission, an activation, and an acceleration that occurs when you step into my world. All right. Now, am I going to get into the finer points and details of it here on this Facebook Live, or what am I doing? YouTube Live? No. Mm-mm. That's what you got to reach out to me for. You have to meet me at least halfway, right? You have to take initiative and say, man, this is resonating. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm feeling called. And I will open the door for you happily to step into this world of happiness, peace, and fulfillment. But you have to instigate your forward movement to step into it, right? I'm sitting here living it up, loving every day, knowing the truth, creating reality, and welcoming you to join me. Okay, but you got to step forward. So, my invitation is again, well, two requisites, right? You already have to know how to regulate your nervous system. You don't have to be a master at it. You will master it when you work with me, but you already have to have some tools in your toolbox to help you, you know, get over your shit. Okay. And then you already have to be in at least a conversation with yourself or in some form of expanding your consciousness, right? Because um, that's work I'm not willing to start with you at because I'm already well beyond that. So come up here and let's go beyond. All right. Let's see, any questions? John said you got to have skin in the game. Yeah, because I mean, I got decades worth of skin in this game. And so I'm not here to, I say this with all due love and respect, I'm not here to um, help people start at the beginning of their journey. Okay, there's plenty of other people who are, and that's a wonderful place to be if that's where you are. I'm at the level of mastery, and so I'm inviting people who want mastery um, to come on. Okay. All right. So if there aren't any questions about the everything I just shared, I don't even know what I just shared in detail. The problem with our problems is that we're approaching them from the objective level rather than the subjective level or the level of our divinity. Um, and so even if we solve a problem at its objective level, it's gonna the problem, right? If the source of the problem is disharmony at a soul level, then the problem is going to manifest in some other area of life in the objective space in our physical reality because we actually haven't solved the disharmony at a deep soul level. In other words, we are still entangled in our identity or our personality or the physical experience of our human experience. Um, when when what there is to address is the non-physical or spiritual. In other words, I could simply say it this way: the source of all of our problems is a spiritual crisis. Okay. The crisis being we don't know the truth of who we are. We don't know our divinity. Okay. And that is the source of all our problems. Okay. Um, Notice I didn't say once you know your divinity that all of your problems disappear. Many do, but it may be there's work to be done at the objective or physical level, right? To cooperate and coordinate this identity, this personality, this physical body and physical life um, with that ultimate truth. Okay. And what a wonderful fucking way to spend our time. What a wonderful way. That's actually how we manifest or create that which we desire. And it can be enjoyable. It doesn't have to be this treacherous, lifelong fucking rolling the boulder up the hill only for it to roll back down on you and smash you and break another bone, right? Like we don't have to live that way. Okay. We can enjoy the unfolding and creation of that which we desire. So, any questions about that, drop them. I'll circle back if I don't catch you live. But now, as always, let's see what time it is. Yep, it's time. All right, so now we're going to talk about metaphysical prayer because what I've come to understand and am in the process for my own self of reprogramming or reforming is the way in which we pray. Okay, so you could also say meditate if you prefer to meditate and prayer is not really your thing. But oftentimes, here's where I see us getting it wrong, is that we are praying for something that we think is outside of us or that we're lacking. We're praying for something that we're lacking to be given or granted to us by some, I don't know, grantor outside of us. And if we're good enough, hopefully he didn't see what we did last night, right? Like if we're good enough, then we are deserving and worthy of being granted that which we're lacking. So that's a simplistic way of saying the wrong, like that's how we have historically and mistakenly perceived prayer. As for meditation, oftentimes, I'm speaking generally here, but oftentimes we use meditation um, to sort of um, to experience peace. But what we think meditation is the absence of all thought. And again, by design, the human mind, I mean, unless you're like a monk or the Dalai Lama and you're like willing to just live your life that way, which my guess is if you're watching me here, you're probably not. But yes, it's possible to experience periods of thoughtlessness. Yes, absolutely. But what's more practical when it comes to meditation and prayer, for that matter, is to just appreciate those moments, those micro moments in between thought. Okay, so it's meditation doesn't have to be this one way, or you're doing it wrong, or whatever, you're not doing it, and then you get more frustrated, and then your mind is even more active than it was before you sat down to meditate. You can simply, in meditation, notice the moment, the space between the thoughts, okay? And the more you do that, the greater the space becomes. And oh, by the way, that is just one form of meditation. There are infinite forms of meditation. You could go for a walk and just notice, I don't know, the shape of the leaf on the tree and be present with it. And that, my friend, is meditation. And I'm not going to get too far. Maybe I'll make a video about meditation here if you'd like. But oftentimes we are approaching prayer and meditation in an unproductive way. I'll just say that, okay? These are two wonderful tools by which we can touch on our divinity and again use this knowing, this infinite indivisible aspect of ourselves, our true selves, to then create, mold, and shape our physical reality, the things that we get to touch and taste and smell and hear. Okay, the fun stuff. So any questions about metaphysical prayer or meditation? Again, you're welcome to leave a comment, and I'll circle back and do my best to answer that for you. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to do just a little bit of metaphysical prayer. So metaphysical prayer is appreciation for what is, okay? And by what is, I mean our infinite nature. Okay. And by infinite nature, I mean that which you desire is already yours at that quantum level. Okay. At that essential level of our subjective level of our being. And to desire it, if you have the wherewithal to desire something, more money, better health, a loving relationship, if you have the wherewithal, meaning it arises in you, you have the desire for that, then that, my friend, is already yours. Okay. And so in metaphysical prayer, we appreciate that which is already ours, that which is including who we are, right? We are, to use religious language, God in human form. Or you could also say we are infinite consciousness, and all things exist now in infinite consciousness. Okay, so my invitation to you is to tune in on a desire that you have. Let it bubble up. Let it arise in you. And once it does, you don't need to like get entangled with it. Just let it be there, whatever that is for you. And then we're just going to take a few breaths. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm not going to say a whole lot after I set the stage. But once we know what that desire is, once we allow it to show itself to us, then we're just going to quiet down all of this activity. I close my eyes to shut out all this external information. I use my breath, just a few deliberate, deep breaths to soften the activity within me. And then I shift into, and the invitation is for you to do so as well, shift into appreciation and acknowledgement for that which is. Okay. If you like to think about appreciation for God, then go there. Like if that's your way of perceiving the infinite, the allness, the isness, well, then use that. And appreciation and acknowledgement for that, paired with that desire that you have, is the way to bring them together. So your personal desire with the infinite allness already exists. And then you just let that touch on the knowing that is within you. And there is your prayer. Okay. All right. So let's do this. So you have your desire, let it bubble up now. Taking a few breaths to soften the agitation of logical thinking and all the information inside and around you. Just a couple deep breaths. Letting your desire meet with your divinity. Divinity is all that is, infinite, indivisible, eternal, nowness, isness, allness. And appreciate. You can say thank you. You can say, I so appreciate, I'm so happy for, I absolutely love having or being or doing whatever your desire was. In the present tense, I absolutely love having wealth. I absolutely love, I'm so happy I have health. I am healthy. Appreciating, I'm so happy I know. I'm so happy I'm here. I'm so happy I'm aware. I'm alive. I am. You could just stop there. I acknowledge, I appreciate, I am. Let that feeling of appreciation, of knowing, of faith bubble up inside of you. Don't be too in your head, just in your heart or in your knowing, in your truth, in your divinity. Mm, thank you. And so it is. All right, you guys, you're welcome to reach out and connect with me on a private level if you like. I have ways that we can work together that we can discuss if you like, if you feel called to step forward. Um, my proverbial door is open for those who are interested in mastering your gifts as a creator. All right, my friends, see you next Sunday. Bye bye.